Being able to understand the power of the subconscious brain is a key element in branding. So much of the influence we have happens without us being conscious of it. It comes down to both how we feel about ourselves and then also how people react to us. You have to have good people that you trust, that you can rely on. How do you find those people? Core values. How do you train those people? Process. I embrace failure, and I encourage my employees to embrace failure. I say that's how we learn.
What if the clothes you wear could transform your life, boost your confidence, and open doors you never thought were possible? In this episode, I get into all those things with Brian Lipstein, the founder of Henry A. Davidsen, a bespoke high-end clothing company. Brian is the ultimate personal brand image consultant and expert in transformative personal styling. But before we pull on that thread, if you're new to this channel, the show exists to provide clarity for 1 million mission-driven entrepreneurs and brands so that together we can create an impact for eternity. But in order to do this, we need to grow our community. So please hit that subscribe button so you get notifications whenever new episodes are released. With nearly 20 years as an image consultant, Brian is still committed to continuous learning and helping clients transform their personal and professional presence, whether it's online or in real life. He shares a number of stories in this episode about his clients' successes that have helped them close more deals, get a job promotion, and for you single guys, even attracting more of the ladies. He's the host of the Gentlemanly Things podcast, which you can find right here on YouTube. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. Some of the cool hallmarks of his show is exploring refined lifestyle elements, diving deep into whiskey, wine, cigars, watches, proper etiquette and modern day gentleman culture, personal style and image psychology. So if you're looking for educational content for professional and personal growth, insights from industry experts, practical advice on personal branding, and understanding the psychology of perception, you're going to love the Gentlemanly Things. So I highly recommend going to check out his show. Again, I'll put a link to that in the show notes. So get ready to discover how the right suit, the perfect whiskey, or understanding gentlemanly things can elevate your personal and professional life. So without further ado, here's Brian Lipstein.
Today with me, an amazing dude, a wonderful gentleman. I'm so glad that you could join us. So happy to be here. And welcome to the show, Brian Lipstein.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, brother. It's good.
Welcome to our showroom.
Yes, the show in the showroom. I could say that's probably the first time I've said that. Thank you. Thank you for having us. First question that I love to ask typically is, what caused the major pivot in your life or in your business? What I love to call the aha moment.
Sure. Yes. So I think my starting this business probably was an aha moment. I started as a senior at Penn. So I went to school here in Philadelphia. Our business is here in Philadelphia because of that. Otherwise, I might have looked to move to another city. And growing up, nobody really ever taught me why dressing was important. Nobody ever taught me how to dress. I remember in fourth grade, my father coming home and saying, "Hurrah, hurrah, we're going business casual." So I was maybe 10 years old, and it's being drilled into me that suits are evil. He hated wearing suits, and he was very excited when he didn't have to. He hated shopping. I hated shopping. So growing up, I was an athlete. I played soccer. I played tennis. I was into volleyball, basketball. And so I dressed like an athlete. It was always comfortable clothing, t-shirts, concert t-shirts, hoodies, things like that, all the way through college. And when I had my first suit made, it was amazing how people treated me differently. And I had the opportunity to start this business, not because I loved suits, but because I had done sales in my background. And I found out that there was an opportunity to start this. And as I started it, found the discipline of image consulting. And as I started studying, so I was 21, and I said, well, I'm trying to sell handmade suits to 40-year-old, 50-year-old, 60-year-old executives. I need something to bring credibility to the table. And we found image consulting, and I found that there was a certification within image consulting. So I said, well, let me get this certification. And as I started studying for that test, it was a 300-question test. They had a study guide online. I bought all the books. I spent 3-4 weeks just reading books about image. And that span of time probably gave me the aha moment that image has a power behind it. There's rules, there's psychology, understanding the rules, understanding when you can break the rules, when to follow the rules, and what you're saying to other people by the way you present yourself. I was fascinated by that. And all of a sudden it went from we're selling custom suits to actually we're doing image consulting, and the custom suits become a way to easily satisfy the recommendations we would be making to clients. And it was that flip, that flip from I'm not a clothier, although the public looks at me that way, to really diving deep with somebody, getting into the psychology of who they're dressing for, why they're dressing, what they have in their wardrobe, what's worked, what hasn't worked, and how we can bring all that about so it becomes something they enjoy. And I tested this on my father early on, and when he actually had a suit that fit him, that was what he wanted, that he didn't have to go shopping for and have the headache for it. After the first couple wearings, I said, how do you like it? He goes, it feels like I'm wearing pajamas. He goes, I actually really like it. And so I was like, well, if I can change his mind, I might have something here. And here we are 19 years later, really with our mission, which is to help individuals feel better about themselves and improve lives.
I love that. Yeah. There's a lot to the story that I'd love to unpack, but I do want to talk about the inspiration to start Henry A. Davidsen, the mission behind it, and also like maybe we could start with the name. What inspired the name?
Sure. Yeah. So as we started the business, there, obviously there's a lot of thought you put into what am I going to name it? And one of the things I went in with is this isn't about me. I don't want my name on the business. And through stories of friends and family, we came across this gentleman, Henry Davidsen, who was always known to be well-dressed when he would leave his house. So he had a reputation, not always in a suit, but always paying attention to the details of leaving his home put together. And we loved that idea. So when we finish working with our clients, that's exactly what we want them to be known for. And so we borrowed his name. He had passed away, but we borrowed it in honor of what he represented and trying to say that that's what we want to represent with our clients and help our clients achieve when we're finished working with them. I guess we're never really finished working with them, but as we take them along the journey of discovering their own style, their own personality through clothing, and we've watched clients change, and evolve and become, see successes they never thought they could achieve by working through getting them in the right piece for the right occasion, and then watching the response they get when they wear the clothing after the fact, and then the confidence comes and people respond to them differently, and all of a sudden they come back and they say, I just closed the biggest deal I've ever closed. I have more clients than I've ever had. I got the promotion. I got the job. I got the lady, if it's a social reason for dressing. So it's just rewarding to hear that feedback every single time we work with clients.
Yeah. So we're sort of in the same business with the respect to personal branding and having to convince people how powerful and how necessary it is, especially as business owners or people at high levels, C-suite level type folks, where some of the language we use is very similar, right? You walk in the room and you want to have a certain sort of flair, or in the online world, it's your reputation, right? And people sort of see a logo, and in this case, you from top to bottom.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that when you educate? And I've gone through your process. I want to share, with the audience at some point during our conversation, how thorough and sort of a fire hose of information for me, for the layman. But I do want to talk about how you share that, the power behind that personal branding and how it relates to what you do.
Sure. Yeah. So one of the favorite things I say is I ask guys, do you know how often throughout the day you see your own reflection? I probably asked you this.
Yeah, and I forgot the answer. It's a lot.
Right. A lot of guys say, maybe 10, maybe 20. I've had some guys go, 150. So on average, we see our own reflection 55 times a day.
Wow.
And the power behind that is mostly subconscious. So being able to understand the power of the subconscious brain is a key element in branding, because so much of the influence we have happens without us being conscious of it. And so when we talk about personal image, personal style, it comes down to both how we feel about ourselves, how we prepare ourselves for the day and the situations we are going to find ourselves in, and then also how people react to us. So 55 times a day, we see a reflection. Maybe 10 of those, 20 of those, that number that people guess most often is conscious, right? Walking by the mirror in the bathroom, getting up in the morning, checking themselves in the mirror before they leave the house. The rest of it, when you walk by a window, you might see the mannequin behind the window, but there's a reflection that your brain is also catching. So that other 55 times on average, so some days it may be 80, 90, 100, your brain is saying, I feel great, right? It's reinforcing how you felt when you consciously looked in that mirror and left in the morning. And you can prop yourself up throughout the day, or you could have the reverse of that, right? And the reverse of that is, I really thought I was going to wear that specific sport coat today, and I forgot it's at the cleaners. I don't feel on top of my game. And now all of a sudden, 55 times a day, you're beating yourself down, right? So there's power in that subconscious within our own brains, but then there's power in how the other people respond to us and the impact you can land a message with. So there's all kinds of stimulus around us, more than there ever has been, right? We got phones, we got computers, we have music, we have people in our office trying to drag us in 5, 6, 7 different directions throughout the day. The demand on our attention stretches us thin. And so when you want to land a message, with impact, the clearer you can get through cutting out that noise, the more impact the message has, right? The more influence you can have as a leader. So when we talk about that type of power, right, and somebody who wants to either progress through the ranks and get promoted, or somebody who's a leader leading a team of 10, 15, 20, 50 people. Some of the guys we work with lead teams of 300 people. It becomes, you got to get your message through. You have to be seen as somebody that they want to follow, right? And somebody that's credible and trustworthy and educated and successful, because that's what's going to pull them along, not just the title behind your name.
I love that. Can we talk about the subconscious perception that others have of you when you're wearing something bespoke? And then I want to get into the differences between bespoke and custom and all that stuff and off the rack. But the perception that others have, say it's your employees or coworkers or people, if you're speaking on a stage, those subtle details, can you talk about that you don't even know is going on, both sides? Sure.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways that question could go. Yeah. Let's focus on positive side of that first. So every little detail, when you get to design from scratch, you get to pick details like the color of a buttonhole and put that personalized accent to it. Inside the jacket, there's a lining, and you get to pick a customized lining for inside the coat. And that lining will come through more for you, right? It's it's there, but the audience doesn't. So it doesn't affect a first impression. But when you get down to fit, when we measure fit, we measure to the 1/8 of an inch. The perfect fit on your body allows the garment to move more like a second skin. It doesn't hang and wrinkle and ripple where it shouldn't. If it's too tight, you're going to see vertical ripples across it. If it's too loose, you're going to see more horizontal. If it's not fit to your postures, because everything hangs from the shoulder, you're going to get diagonal ripples. And that pulls on you when you move. So the way it feels on you is different. But then when somebody looks at you and everything's just clean and every detail's there, right, the impression is, this guy took the time, right? This guy took the time to care about himself, so he's got to care about me. He's going to care about the work. The reverse of that is if you don't take that time, right? If it looks like you can't take care of yourself, the unspoken message behind that is you
Right.
can't take care of your work. You can't take care of me. If you can't even handle yourself,
Yeah.
how can you handle more than that? Right.
Right.
And it may or may not be true, but that's the impression that somebody's going to walk away with subconsciously.
Right.
And you have to get through, again, that's noise, right? So now you're trying to send this message, and the noise is, well, this person can't take care of themselves. I'm tuned out, right? I don't even hear what they're saying. It doesn't land with that impact. Whereas all those distractions are eliminated, the noise is gone. I hear what you're saying.
Wow. Yeah, it reminds me of you get into someone's car, for example, right? And then you see wrappers and garbage everywhere. You're like, and they're trying to sell you on something or convince you of something. You're like, I'm distracted here. I'm like, I'm like, how are you even taking? You're trying to sell me a car. You say you're taking care of it, but meanwhile, I could see on display here, it's probably not the case. So yeah, I love that point that people on a subconscious level, or conscious, can make those snap judgments if they're going to hire you, work with you. So
it's. I think you've read Malcolm Gladwell over the years. So he talks about in Blink, which is a great book for what we do. We thin slice information. So I'm going to look at you, and within 2 seconds, I'm moving on to the next piece of information, and I'm gathering 20 pieces of information in that first 7 seconds, 20 seconds that we meet. And I'm taking this much of this story and I'm stacking that much of those stories to create my own story. I miss all the other pieces of it because of how fast we're moving. So, right, we thin slice and we come up with our own stories, usually within the first 7 to 30 seconds that we meet somebody. If I've already decided you're not worth my time, or you're not credible, or I don't align with you in some way because what I'm reading from your personality and what you're reading from my personality is not what draws us together. Again, I've kind of already tuned you out, and we may talk for another 5-10 minutes. It's going to be how memorable is that discussion, right? Yeah. Is it great? I'm just kind of being polite and giving you my time, which is another topic we can get into. Is I'm learning more and more at this point how valuable time is and how precious it is, and how to guard it a little bit more. But if I see somebody on the street, that wants to talk to me, I may not want to talk to them. If I'm approaching somebody I want to talk to, I need to make sure that I'm valuing their time, so that they know that it's important to me and that I really appreciate the attention that they might be giving to me in my attempt to approach them. So, you could go pretty deep with that one.
Yeah. Can we talk a little bit about, you've worn Bespoke suits probably the majority of your life. I've recognized when I wear a suit versus even just a blazer, the subtle differences how people treat you. Can you talk about your experience, and maybe even clients' experiences specifically too? Would be cool, that the differences between off the rack or just wearing a blazer or wearing a full, what you're wearing today was very impressive. So how do people treat you or others that you've recognized?
Yeah, so I'm going to take me out of it because people know what I do, or when they find out what I do.
Yeah, it's like, makes sense.
Yeah, sometimes you wonder, are the compliments genuine, right? And usually they are. And I have the confidence to know that I know I'm doing it right, because if I weren't, nobody would want to come and buy from me, right? And we have a great roster of clients we work with that we have close relationships with. So, but I mean, off the rack, it's you're somebody else is selecting for you, right? So you're settling somewhere when you buy off the rack. It's whether it's the fit of the garment, you can get it altered, but there's certain areas of the garment that can't be altered. Certain areas, if you could get them altered, find a tailor that will do it. So they can be altered, but most tailors can't do it. So finding a tailor that's got the skill to do it, you could pay more in alterations to fix a suit than you would pay for the suit off the rack. We've had people bring us suits, and I said, look, this doesn't make sense. You're going to spend $800 to $1,000 just altering this suit, and you paid $800 for the suit to begin with. Now, the whole different discussion of what the quality of the suit is. If you're buying a $3,000 to $5,000 suit off the rack and you can put $800 into fixing it, it better lines up. But at that point, we make bespoke suits for $3,000 to $5,000. So it's like, why would you ever go off the rack? And getting back to the idea of time, all that time to sort through the options that are there, only to settle. And then what's the cost of your time? So if I'm working with a lawyer that bills $700 an hour, and he spent 2 hours driving to the store, sorting through the racks, trying something on, getting it altered, and he bought a $5,000 suit, well, that suit actually cost him almost $6,500 before he put money into the alterations. Wow. So now you're just like, well, add it up, right? So when you work with somebody like us that can build it from scratch, that guides you to the right thing, that gives you the confidence to know, yes, I'm sending the right message for the crowd that I'm going to be in front of. And we take your measurements, we create a pattern. The next time you come in, you could literally get exactly what you want in 5 minutes to a half hour, depending on how quick you are with decisions, depending on how much power you want to give to us to style it for you. And we have guys that'll pick wardrobes. They've got their wardrobe lined up for the whole year. So they're going to start a piece today. When that piece comes in, they're starting the next piece. They already know the fabric. They've already picked the styling. Then they start the next piece. They don't leave their desk. They take it off the hanger. They put it on, and it's perfect. They walk out with it. So, so many different areas there. You're getting exactly what you want. You're not looking like the person next to you because you all shop at the same store. You're not settling on style detail, individuality, fit, fabric, level of construction and quality that you want. You're getting exactly what you want the first time and every time.
I have something really exciting to share with you. My book, Be Your Brand to Glorify God, is officially available. Why this book? Why this book now? Why do you need it? It was the book that I was searching for when I was building my business and I was beginning my walk and then eventually my run into faith. And it was the guide that I wish I had during that time. Something to give me strength, confidence, and clarity to keep showing up, creating content, sharing my experiences at the time. It offers stories and biblical principles to support you as you build your business, your personal brand. You want to make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. And spoiler alert, it's not about you. It's not about me. Even though it's called personal branding, it's something much, much bigger. And that's what I needed. That was the clarity that I was searching for. And it's in this book. So if you're a Christian entrepreneur who's on your faith journey and you're ready to stop hiding or being afraid to share your faith, this book is for you. So grab it now on Amazon or head to beyourbrandnow.com where you'll get the book and a free download called Know Your Roots to help you define your core values, which is the first step in building a clear and powerful personal brand. So pick up your copy today and remember to leave a rating and review to help others like you find it when they need it.
Can we talk about the difference between bespoke, custom?
Yeah. So we use visuals here in the store. As you know, we put you through it. And we educate on it because it's convoluted out in the market. There's a lot of companies that make something from a swatch of fabric, take your measurements, you get to pick style elements, and they are calling it custom. Or in the customer's eye, they think I just had a custom suit made, and it was really made to measure. So there's really three classifications. You have off the rack, which is a predetermined size based on generally your chest measurement and some element of your height, or if you have a stomach that sticks forward. So you have short, regular, long, extra long, and then portly, right? But it's all based off your chest. 42 inches of size 42 says your chest is 42 inches, and it says nothing else other than there's a standard, set of measurements that fit a profile for a guy with a 42-inch chest. When you go made to measure, you at least get the benefit of choosing style elements. But what made to measure does is it works from an existing stock pattern. So it's going to take that 42 pattern that ready-made suit was done with. You can adjust the pattern, but because there's ratios in that pattern that already exist, you have to adjust it within ratio. So the example I give is like adjusting a picture on a computer screen. If you pull from the right or you pull from the bottom, you distort and stretch the picture. Well, if you adjust those ratios in that made-to-measure pattern too far, when you sew it together, you're going to distort the suit. It's going to twist. It's not going to hang correctly with gravity. So you're limited. You pull the picture from the corner, right? Everything stays the same ratio. So you take an existing pattern, you pull from the corner, and you're limited in how much better you can make it, but you're still making it better. And if the only two experiences you had were off the rack and made to measure, you're going to think, hey, made to measure is great. I've discovered this world. This is amazing. And I'm sold on it, right? I'm never going back. And then you take it to the next step where you have bespoke or in our world, custom has a tradition to it. So when you talk about custom, we're talking about bespoke. We're talking about Benchmade is a little different. So I'll get into that difference. But bespoke means we're creating a pattern from scratch. So we take your body measurements and we draft a pattern on paper that's exactly your body. And then there's steps in between that say, well, we need to check the pattern. We need to refine the pattern because it's not a science. It's very much an art. And so we draft it. We create a garment that you are going to try on today, actually. And we put it on your body to see what gravity is going to do with it. We mark all that up. We take those changes. We put it back to the paper pattern. We refine. And then we make your garment and we save that pattern on file for you. Custom or bespoke also should be mostly done by hand. Made to measure says nothing about the construction of the garment. Mm-hmm. So you can have a fused garment, a half canvas garment, a fully handmade garment. If that pattern existed before your measurements were taken and your measurements were applied to it, it's made to measure. But bespoke is your measurements creating the pattern from scratch and handwork on top of it give you what bespoke is. And then that last level I talked about, Benchmade. Benchmade is that ultimate traditional garment. It's where one master tailor works on one garment from start to finish. Mm. So with bespoke, you may have somebody that specializes in making pockets, somebody that specializes in hanging sleeves. Mm. So it becomes almost an assembly line where you maximize quality because you have that person doing their specialized job every day and they're the master at it. Mm-hmm. A Benchmade garment, go to Savile Row, you've got one tailor generally working on the whole garment. And to find something Benchmade today, you're probably easily starting at $8,000 to $10,000. Mm. It's hard to find. The tailors don't exist anymore. A lot of them have passed away. The kids haven't taken up the trade like they used to. Mm. And yeah, if you can find one, you're talking about 60 to 80 hours of work when you have one person doing it all the way through, as opposed to 45 to 60 hours of work when you can kind of work on an assembly line.
Were you ever one of those guys?
A tailor?
The Benchmade guy.
Oh, have I ever had one made?
Yeah. No, you personally, because I know you have abilities.
Oh. Have I ever made one?
Yeah.
No, I am not a tailor.
I thought you know so much about it. It's like, man, you pretty much can do it.
I can identify what's right and wrong.
Yeah.
And I to get into this industry, I said I need to know.
Yeah.
But to develop those skills, to be a master tailor is 20 years of training.
Oh, wow.
It's training and perfecting, and you spend the whole first year really just working on probably pant bottoms and shopping up or sweeping up the shop is how they would have traditionally done it. So, you don't become a master tailor overnight.
Yeah.
So it does take time, and I don't put myself out there as a master tailor. We do have a master tailor on our team.
Okay.
Edgar, our tailor here in-house, he's been sewing since he was 8.
Wow.
He's approaching 60. So
is he like a little Italian guy from like?
he actually grew up in Guatemala.
Okay.
And he immigrated here to the U.S. and built his family here, and he's been sewing for as long as he can remember. But he really is. He's one of the rare ones that can do it all. That can rip an entire garment apart and fix it. Some of those alterations I was talking about that other people won't do. He'll take care of those.
Yeah, that's awesome. Are you talking to him about passing that knowledge on to?
We talk about it a lot. Yeah. It's how do we maintain this? How do we build a queue, or how do we build a training program? Yeah. So we've talked about it, and it's we both have a desire to do it. We've been growing so much and so fast that he's just keeping up, and finding another tailor. So we've brought a second tailor on to help him. This past year, we had a tailor in training that unfortunately we trained, and then they took a job elsewhere. And that's the hard thing, is somebody that really is true to the craft, that wants to be part of it. Not saying, well, I can make more money doing alterations at
Right.
Nordstrom's or Macy's or somewhere else.
Yeah.
And we've had tailors leave over the years because, for them, it's about the money and not the craft. For Egger, it's about the craft.
Yeah.
He really, truly believes in the craft, and it's really an admirable trait that we work with here.
Yeah, that's good. It's cool to know you have somebody on your staff, your bench to, yeah. I realized I did a little pun there, but yeah, Benjamin. So the one thing I wanted to ask about clients' experience, there's, I'm sure, a wide spectrum of people who are cool with making a lot of decisions. They want to make a lot of decisions and get very involved. And then there's the other side where it's like, Brian, I don't know anything. I just trust you. Just dress me and make all the decisions. So can you talk about sort of that and in between?
Yeah. So, right, you can have analysis by paralysis, paralysis analysis, whatever the term is, right? And a lot of people would get overwhelmed. Yeah, there's so many decisions that go into the design of a garment. And when you get into custom and you can do contrast pipings and contrast button threads and buttonhole threads, and we have some guys that'll put different buttons. They'll actually contrast the buttons on the sleeve. So we just did that for a couple guys, and some of them want every piece of that. They have that vision and that creativity, or they saw something and they really liked it, so they bring it to us and we can replicate the design. A lot of them, most guys, would just be like, this is stressful, right? And our experience, we want to be an experience. I don't want any stress. I hated shopping myself. I wanted to flip retail shopping on its head. So through our process, so we have a proven process. We consult, we educate, we design, right? That first step is so critical to be able to understand who this person is, what their role is, what their situation is, what their personality is. So there's design that reflects personalities. If we skip that step, I can't make the rest of it easy for them. So we never skip that step, right? That's what a proven process is. You guys have one, and I love part of why we connected probably so quickly. Once we know them, it could be as simple as, all right, work on the first couple together, and then I got it from here. We have guys, generally they like to pick the fabric, right? All right, I'm looking for a particular color. I want a particular pattern. This is what I'm missing in my wardrobe, or I feel that I'm missing, and we may say, well, actually, you're missing this, and you've got that covered, and so we'll pivot sometimes. And then they'll say, all right, give me three options for linings. Tell me what button I should get. Do it up with bells and whistles. Keep this one more simple, and we'll take it from there. So because we know them, and we know them intimately, and we've built this relationship over time, we can make it as involved for them as they want to be, or we could take it all off their plate and down to, hey, I need a gray suit. All right, great. I'll pick you a gray suit. I'll pick you the blue suit. If they're getting into more patterns, I generally want their input at least for the pattern, because I don't want them to pick blindly and then they say, oh, I don't really love it, and I just spent all this money on it. Yeah. So I do require them to put some input in, but then depending on how flashy they want it to be, I can take over.
Yeah. You're reminding me certain client types where they don't want to make all the decisions because, yes, it can be stressful. This is not their wheelhouse. They're not comfortable in this space. And then, you do all the things, but then you get it to a certain degree, and then it's like, I'm not loving it. So then what happens in your case where you're like, we took it this far for you because you didn't want to make the decisions. So then how far can you walk it back? What are the cases there? Yeah,
so that's why I said fabric is, we can change a thread color on a buttonhole. If somebody didn't like it, we can obviously change buttons. Thread or main fabric and lining, very difficult to change. Obviously, main fabric, you'd be remaking the whole garment. Lining you can change, but it's not really worth it. So, and again, that's going to be on the inside of the suit. So for them to not like it, we're just upfront with people. Our policy is, this is custom work. You put a 50% deposit down, that's non-refundable, no questions asked. We do realize you may not be able to picture what the final garment is, so we don't take the second 50% of the payment until a client says they're happy. They have the opportunity to walk away from the garment at that point. So they know they're only in and on the hook for half of it, and if they want to walk away from it, they have that option. If they exercise that option, obviously we want to make them happy. So we'll do everything we can. You know, if we have to remake something, maybe I'll work with them, you know, and give a little bit of a concession, but it depends on the circumstances and the situation. I think in 19 years of doing this, I've had 2 people walk away from a garment, right? And it's really the opportunity to avoid that is to dial in that beginning, in that consultation. Let's figure out who you are and what you're going to like, because I know that better than most of the guys. Through what I've studied, right? Through line of design and through how personality lines up. And there's a system out there called universal style. It essentially says that there's 7 basic personalities, and then if you match up with this personality, this is how the styling of the garments, the styling of an outfit is going to match up with you. So having that foundation, you know, to work from gives us the ability to say we've got you in the right thing, right? And as soon as they put it on, right? So first of all, it's going to feel amazing. It actually fits them the right way. They probably haven't had something that fits and moves with their body to that extent before. But our corporate guarantee is compliments guaranteed. So, you know, a lot of times we'll say, take it for a test spin. And if you still have issues with it, you know, bring it back. They'll wear it out, and the first day they'll wear it, they get 10 compliments. They're like, all right, I like it.
Yeah.
Right. And they might have been nervous to wear something that was a little bit more pattern, and then they see the response they get to it. And it's like, well, you should stand out from the crowd for the right reasons, right? Never blend in. You know, you blend in, again, your message isn't getting heard. So when you stand out, and you stand out looking like you were put together the right way, that's great. When you stand out for the wrong reasons, because it fits you terribly, it's the wrong color, you wore a neon yellow jacket to a black tie affair, right? Anything that's not within norms, you know, obviously you're not going to get the same reaction. But when we put it together thoughtfully for them, and then they get that reaction, then they're hooked. Then it actually becomes almost like a drug.
Yeah.
You know, like, I want more compliments.
I mean, grooming comes with it too, right? And if they're walking in a beautiful suit and then their hair's all screwy and
yeah. So
terrible,
we would touch on grooming.
Yeah.
We don't personally do grooming here, but we have.
Even though you have a barber.
Yeah, there's a barber that comes in, so we may refer and say, hey, work with the barber that comes in.
Yeah.
We have relationships in the neighborhood, so we say, okay, go see our friends over here. You're going to like the personality of this guy. He's going to help educate you on styling your hair, what products to use, how your hair grows, what type of hair you have, what the right haircut is going to be. And it's all stuff I've gone through as I went on my journey and discovered it. So I talk about my experience. And when you get personal with it, it helps to connect with the client. It helps them feel a little bit more comfortable. It helps them break down their walls, right? And then tell you, hey, I've struggled with this. Well, great. When I know what you're struggling with, I can find you a solution.
Right.
When you hide that struggle, you know, I didn't know, so I can't help you. So we have couches here, and that consultation happens on the couch. I joke with a lot of people that it's like I'm a therapist, half therapist some days, half stylist some days, half teacher some days, you know, half boss some days, you know, visionary for our company and whatnot. So it's fun. But it has to be true, genuine relationships, and people have to break down their walls because I can only work with as good of information as I have.
Yeah. No, I do appreciate that process since I've gone through it. It did very much feel like a comfortable therapy session.
Yeah, good.
Where you asked a lot of thorough questions. I'm a transparent guy, so it was easy. I'm sure it's hard for you to deal with people that aren't as transparent, but I gave you all of my insecurities and like, hey, I got short legs, blah, blah, blah. And so it's like, can you make me have Ryan Reynolds legs? You know, it's like, you know, there's only so much you could do, but I do appreciate that aspect of it. If anybody is ever looking for that type of experience, you know, I haven't experienced that, but then also I haven't done a bespoke suit before. Can we get into sort of when you do that process and you're starting to get to know them at that deep level, how much of what you've built so far within Henry A. Davidsen and your the core values and the culture that you've built within, how much of that is sort of imparted or just ingrained while you're doing the consulting and the education? Yeah, no,
I mean, we develop core values and they're not just there. So we use them. We use them when we hire. So everybody on our team has to represent our core values, but we also use them when we evaluate working with a client. The three lenses we look at our core values through, first, they're inviolatable. So they have to be upheld, right? Somebody can't break a core value and say, oh, I made a mistake. Like you break it, we got an issue. The second is you would give up revenue for them. So that's how it relates to the client. Right? I'd rather not take somebody's money if they don't align with our core values, because the core values tell me that they're going to be an issue somewhere along the way, right? And I'd rather not deal with that issue if I can identify it up front. And it's going to be an issue for both of us, right? The client's going to feel they didn't get the whole experience that they wanted. I'm going to feel like I'm dealing with a pain in the ass client, right? Neither of us want to feel that way, so I'd rather send them somewhere I know that they're better aligned for and give that money to my competitors around town if it's a better fit for them. So, the client, give up revenue for it, and then they have to be lived every day. So through the behaviors of the team and the activities we do on a daily basis, we see those core values emulated through the behavior. And it's not a once a month type of thing. Every week we give core value shout outs in our L10 meetings. We're always calling out employees, giving each other recognition. Hey, you did this. This really represented this value. And so, our values, we thought really hard about them. It was something that I took the time when we were closed in the pandemic to really dig into. And then once we developed them, I probably spent the next 6 to 9 months bouncing them off people. Hey, how does this feel? Do you like these? Do you resonate with them? Do you see a reflection of me in these core values? Because as the owner of the business, it obviously has to be part of my personal values. You've worked with us for 10 years. Do you feel this when you've worked with us? We've just never defined it. And we tweaked them. A little bit. We got it pretty good up front, but we did make tweaks along the way. And now they're set, right? And we use them when we hire, we use them when we fire, we use them when we correct behavior, we use them to say yes to a client, to say no to a client. So we're talking about them. I want them to be even more visible in our showroom. They're hard values to put a visual representation to. So that's, when we want to put them up on the wall, I don't just want the words up there. I want some picture that represents them, some icon that represents them. And we want to do it the right way in that sense. So we're figuring that out. But I've talked about them. I should probably tell you what they are.
Yeah, please. I know the acronym, but yeah, I want you to share.
Yeah, so we chose, it worked out. We didn't try to acronym it and then fit a value in. We actually looked at all of our values. We looked at synonyms to the values. We used a thesaurus. We looked at definitions. Does this really mean what we want? We laid it all out. And we were able to actually acronym it at the end. And we used the acronym Be Real. And REAL, the REAL, stands for Be Reputable, Be Extraordinary, Be Authentic, and Be Learned. And so what's in each of those elements, Be Reputable, comes right back to the story we talked about at the beginning, right? The whole reason we named our company was because the founding, the namesake of our company had a reputation for always being well-dressed, for always being put together. But it goes beyond the namesake. For us, Be Reputable is saying what you're going to do, doing what you say you're going to do. So the integrity behind it, the trustworthiness behind it, the honesty, all the things that a lot of people put into their core values, we didn't just want that to be there where, okay, yeah, that's everybody's core value, right? We wanted to put it in an actionable way where what you do, you're being reputable about it. And then Be Extraordinary. For me, when I thought back on my life, the most impactful things, so we talked about that aha moment in the beginning, but the other most impactful things I've had are all experiences. And the way we set this whole thing up here, by appointment only, private, one-on-one, consultative, it's an experience. And so Be Extraordinary is all about delivering extraordinary experiences. So I love the book Unreasonable Hospitality. I read that over the summer. My whole team's reading it now. And it's how do we deliver wow, for somebody in an industry that's not typically delivering that. Custom world, maybe, but we want to go even above what existed in custom. I certainly hated retail. I wanted to flip retail on its head. So, all about that experience. What can we do? We recently gifted about 10 clients personal photography sessions that they could use for, one used it for headshots in a campaign he was doing, and others going to use it for an anniversary with his wife, and others using it for family portraits.
Wow.
And they're waiting till their kids come home from college to do a family portrait.
Cool.
Said, here, 2-hour session with a photographer. They'll come to your house. You can get 2 or 3 prints out of it. If you want to order more, that's on you. And we worked with a photographer that knows how to set this up and knows how to deliver the same experience we deliver here in their services. Wow. So that kind of extraordinary above and beyond, right? Be authentic. Literally the definition of being real. But in all the deep dives I've done over my life, the trainings I've had, the introspection, it's, when you are comfortable with yourself, when you find out who you really are, that's what matters. That's what matters more than anything else. So we want to celebrate that. We want to, through the consultations we do, help clients, in our therapy sessions, maybe discover more about that with themselves. And especially when it comes to clothing, being comfortable in your clothing is so much a part of being able to feel comfortable in your own skin and know who you are. And so the resources we've had over the years, I may take them through a little bit of that, and then again refer them out if they want to go deeper on their own work. But we celebrate it for them, we celebrate it for us. And then Be Learned is about understanding, looking for chances to learn, transfer knowledge. So we transfer knowledge to our clients. We gain knowledge from our clients as well. And we talk about transfer as opposed to teaching. Transfer being even plane, teaching being power structure. Right, teacher student. So we're learning as much from them as they're learning from us. And you already referenced the fire hose that it felt like you got to drink out of. We try to chunk it up and start high level, and then as we work together longer and longer, we get to the deeper levels of learning the intricacies of clothing, construction, fabrics, fibers, style. Right, what the right element is for you. So so be real, be reputable, be extraordinary. Be authentic, be learned.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. I always love when it works out that way. It's like meant to be, and it's just easy, right? To remember, to digest, to explain, which is great. So congrats on that. That's not an easy feat, I know. A lot of people struggle with that. Well, now with AI, right, it's getting easier. People are really, really using it.
Good for brainstorming, yeah.
Yeah. But I do want to talk about the segment that I love to call Embracing the F Word, and sharing any lessons that you learned along the way where you tripped and fell and potentially learned something from it that you can impart on others who are starting their business or have a business. And,
sure.
Yeah.
First of all, I shouldn't say I love failure, but I embrace failure. I encourage my employees to embrace failure. I say that's how we learn. If you try something, don't be afraid to try it, because if you never tried it, you would have never experienced it. The worst you can do is fail and learn from it and then try it again. Just don't make the same failure twice is my message, right? Learn, which means learn from it, right? So even if you try the same thing and fail twice at the same thing, as long as you did it different ways, trying, I'm okay with that. Was there one great failure for me? I don't know if I'd call it a failure. Learning experiences over the years, there's been a ton of them. I started the business with a partner. We came to a situation where we couldn't reconcile our differences, and we ended up splitting. That was an experience that taught me a ton going through that. Then I took over the business and I was growing it on my own. So whether it's hiring the wrong employee, I've made that mistake a ton of times. We're really trying to dial that one in, because people are what are going to make the rest of this growth successful. As an entrepreneur, so many times we think, oh, yeah, I need to do it all. I'm the one that's got the vision. I've got the ideas. I've got the expertise. And thinking that way, really, I would call that a failure, up until I learned, like, you got to let go. You have to let go. but you have to have good people that you trust, that you can rely on. How do you find those people? Core values. How do you train those people? Process. I learned all that by failing at doing that. So I would really say, I've definitely failed over the years at stuff like that, and was an aha moment. So come back to a second, much later aha moment of going all in on using the Entrepreneurial Operating System, or EOS. And EOS came out of all those failures. I was tired of hiring the wrong person and having them leave. I was tired of not giving them the training to the point where they weren't succeeding, and it was just a waste of time for me and them, and a waste of money. Not knowing I had to document processes, but never having the time to do it. And so we instituted EOS 2.5 years ago, and it takes a good year to learn it and get it under your belt and see the impact of it. And we definitely had a little bit of a slide back in 2023 last year, but I led my team through that, and I said, we're going slower so we can go faster. And now here, and nearing the end of 2024, we're going to see 30 to 40% growth in the business this year. Wow. It's the biggest revenue growth number we've had, other than the recovery from COVID, because we slid back so far in COVID, which everybody. Well, I should say everybody. Some people thrived in COVID, but we'll say everybody in retail. Nobody had anywhere to go, and nobody wanted to get out of their pajamas. The store was forced closed for 3 months here. There's no way we were recovering from losing 3 to 4 months of business, and then people not being in offices and no events to go to.
But a cool thing you mentioned to me offline was that you started getting into more, or really pouring into the casual gear, right? Did that birth it, or you were already doing it?
No, yeah, we were already doing that. Okay. And people couldn't quite wrap their heads around custom casual. Like, what do you mean I could get a polo shirt custom made?
Jeans.
Was that like crazy expensive? And it's like, no, if you would go buy a luxury polo shirt off the rack, you're going to pay the same, but have it custom fit and designed and styled for you. Custom jeans. We've been doing custom jeans probably since 2012.
Okay.
And we did fine with custom jeans, but now all of a sudden people are like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let me try this. Custom sweaters, Henleys, bomber coats. I've got a guy that wears a bomber coat. He just layers every day, and he wants to have a bomber coat on. So and he's got 5 or 6 bomber coats from us, and he switches them up every day, and that's how he goes around town. But he's the sharpest looking guy in his casual wear that you'll see. And he, again, stands out for the right reasons. When it comes to casual, people hear the word casual, and they all of a sudden equate that to, okay, I don't have to care. So I always say casual doesn't mean sloppy, because you're still sending messages. You still have to be put together. You can still send the right messages, and you can still send the wrong messages. Again, when you're doing casual the right way, it lands with impact. And when you're doing it the wrong way, it slides you backwards. Yeah.
I think of celebrities, whenever they have those random shots, paparazzi, whether it's Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, or Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
They're wearing jeans, or they're wearing bomber jacket, or they're wearing something, and I'm like, man, why do they look so put together? It's because of that, right?
It's all those little details.
It's all custom. Yeah. But it's like you don't associate those things with, like, it fits them so perfectly. Like, how do they find that? But question though, because my wife and I, but definitely more my wife, has challenges finding jeans. Like, it's always difficult. She's got to spend a half a day trying on so many. Do you recommend women or definitely men, but come in and try to just get fitted for it and just make it to you?
Yeah.
Match you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, again, factor in the cost of your time. So she spent a half a day.
Easily.
Right. So, all right, great. She spent a half day. She finally found a $200 pair of jeans, but what's her time worth? Right. And maybe she might be a mom and she works at home. There's still a value on her time, sure. Right? She doesn't have an hourly rate per se, but I mean, a mom's a hard job, right? What's your wife do? I don't.
Well, she homeschools.
Okay, so she's teaching your kids.
Yeah, that could be time she could be spending with the kids.
100%, right? So there's value to her on that.
It stresses her out too. So
there's cost to that. Yeah. Okay, you want a new job? You want to? You're making all the points for me, right? She's stressed out. She's just spent all her time doing something she doesn't really want to do. She's frustrated because she can't find it. And people focus so much on just that price that they were paying for the item when they finally find it, right? So it might be you can find a $50 pair of jeans. If it fits you perfectly, it's great, right? You'd rather see that on somebody than them spend $500 on a pair of jeans that were sloppy, right? So it's not about the price tag; it's about the end result. But if all right, I bought a $200 pair of jeans, they're my favorite brand. They're the closest thing I can get that fit. I would never spend $600 on a pair of jeans, but think about the time, the frustration, and all of what goes on top of that $200 you just spent. So, 4 hours, a half a day is easily, as a homeschool mom, I would put $300 an hour on her time. So, that's $1,200 right there. So, and you got one pair of jeans out of it that, now costs you $1,400.
And it won't last forever.
Yeah, well, nothing in our world lasts forever. I won't
for a longer period of time.
When it fits you right, it lasts longer.
Yeah.
It also has to be cared for the right way. So, how are you laundering it, or how's your dry cleaner at home? Are you giving it the proper time to recover? Right? If you're wearing the same clothing 2 days, 3 days in a row, you're actually going to wear it through faster. So, there's a lot that goes into the longevity of it. But ultimately, it's the time, right? And it's the ability to be replicated with that. So all of a sudden that jean company that she now says, all right, I found the pair, and all right, 6 months later, I'm going to go back and get another pair. And the company changed up the model because that's what fashion does, right? It's all right, fashion's this way and then fashion's this way. And it's this big swing, and it's never just for you. But when it's custom, all right, great. I make you the same thing every time. Right? Do you want to switch up anything or not? That's your choice. But if you're like, look, I love the last pair. I wear them all the time. Don't change a thing. Great. You get the same exact thing. You just saved your half a day. Yeah. It comes in. It fits you perfectly. You feel amazing in it. There's no frustration. You're good to go.
Yeah.
So, why wouldn't you have clothing made? It's not – people get in their heads it's so much more expensive.
Right.
I argue the other way. I say it's actually – less expensive. You get more value out of it. So when you look at price tag versus value, that's where you have to make that difference.
Yeah.
And you get so much more value out of having it made for you, having it be perfect, and have it be everything you want.
There's also a psychological element too, like, am I worthy of this, or I don't deserve it?
Yeah.
Like, there's some deep-rooted stuff in some people where it's like, you can afford to buy this car. I have a lot of, and so it's you as well as you, like, we have wealthy, high net worth friends, and sometimes they're driving around a beater. Like, dude, you make $400,000 a year. Why are you driving this 1990 Honda Civic? Because I think there's a psychological element. We're like, well, I'm not worthy, or this is how I grew up.
Yeah, that could be that. It could be value. Like, hey, I drive it from home to the train station every day, and I get on the train. Like, I don't need a nice car to do that.
True.
Right? I've got kids and then dogs. I don't need a nice car that's going to get beat up by that. I live in the city. You park it on the street, it's going to get hit. So there's an element to it, right? And it's always putting the story together, right? What are the circumstances around it, right? And we talk about this better, right? Okay, is a BMW better than a Honda Civic? Depends on what you want to use it for, right? Yeah, if you want to have BMWs are a bit like tanks. I know this because my dad got in an accident in one when we were kids, and it just held up.
Wow.
Like, they walked away from a head-on collision, 45 mile an hour head-on each way, so 90 mile an hour, impact.
Oh my gosh.
Walked away from it. So I drove a BMW growing up. Funnily enough, now I live in the city. I went 6 years without having a car, and then I got my grandmother's car because she was going to stop driving, and all the other grandkids had one. So I drive a 2001 Honda Accord, but I drive it to my parents' house. I drive it to the beach, and I drive it to the golf course. I'm not carting clients around in it. It'd be different, right? If I had to drive clients, I'm not putting them in that car because that's a different impression I want to leave on them. For my own personal needs, I don't even want to have a car. So one that stays on the street that I might drive twice a month, I don't need to invest in a BMW. Could I afford one? Sure.
Speaking of cars, love to get into cigars and wine and whiskey and watches and all the things that make up gentlemanly things. So tee that up for you and hear more about what you're planning and what you're doing.
Yeah. So really started looking at the things that surround that are adjacent to clothing, to bespoke clothing, and the finer things, and looking at what our clients like, and started recognizing that it's really these categories. And outside of those categories, there's other things too, but I wanted to distill it down and bring back this concept of the gentleman. I think we've seen influential figures, public figures that act like gentlemen, and we've seen influential figures that don't act like gentlemen. And this idea of the classic gentleman, I think, has gone a little bit by the wayside. And really the finer parts of what made a gentleman that category or that title come in the things he enjoys, the way he acts. So, and personally, I have an interest in these items as well. So, really, I know a little bit about whiskey. I became whiskey certified in Scotch and bourbon, and have had those experiences of being able to visit distilleries down in Kentucky on multiple occasions. I've made barrels of whiskey. They're great stories that I like to share, that people love hearing, and I want to hear more of them from other people. I'm into wine. I've gone to wine classes and really explored the different varietals of wine and the different regions of wine, and love that for wine and whiskey, you have to experience it to learn. So, it's something that there's depth and complexity to, the same way with clothing. And got to have this experience with learning a little bit more about cigars. I like to enjoy a cigar from time to time, but I don't really know what I'm doing in cigars. So I'm interested in learning more. And I had this opportunity to meet Rocky Patel at an event that was hosted back in the spring. And he gave this really, really interesting talk that just kind of opened my eyes to the complexity of tobacco and how a cigar is grown from the leaf of the tobacco, and how it's curated, and what makes a finer cigar and a worse cigar worse. And I've certainly had cigars I thought were really good, and I didn't know why. And then I had cigars that I'm like, oh, this isn't so good. And that gave me a little more insight. And so it was right around that time of meeting Rocky that I had this idea of maybe I'm going to do a podcast around this idea of the gentlemanly things. And I posed it to him, and I said, I would love for you to come talk. And he said, yeah, I would love to be a part of that. So, that kind of commitment from him was really the first step in saying, all right, now I have to really do this. And it eventually, led me to find you guys. And certainly one of the things I always tell people is you need a coach, right? So I'm your coach in a lot of cases. And what I realized for myself is I never hired a coach for me. So I'm super excited to be working with you guys. And I look at you guys as my coach in my own world, right? And helping me get better. If I'm going to tell my clients they need a coach and they need to get better, I should be doing the same thing, right? I should have that be reputable element to it. So bringing back this idea of gentlemen and the gentlemanly things, we're going to explore, really the adjacent to clothing. We're going to talk about clothing as well. We're going to talk about etiquette. We're going to talk about all these different elements that gentlemen will enjoy. And we're going to get into the conversation and bring these conversations out into the world so that guys can be better educated and they can better understand what they like and maybe something about themselves with that. So yeah, super excited to get this going. And really it's taking the first step is the hardest piece of it, making the commitment, bringing you guys on board. We talked a little bit about imposter syndrome and there's been a little bit of it, but addressing it and just understanding that my episode 1 isn't going to be another podcast I've been listening to is episode 200, right? That they got there. So I've been going back listening to a lot of episodes 1, 2, and 3 to really kind of get in the right mind frame and see where these popular podcasts have started. And to me, it's not about building a podcast. I mean, it is ultimately about building a podcast, but it's about having a medium to bring these conversations out into the world and bring value to our clients and people that are interested in menswear and be able to reach them where they're at and have some really cool behind the scenes knowledge that help people understand things better.
Yeah, I I love that. And I love that it is, there's so many facets to the benefits, not just for you, but for all the people involved, your guests, and then bringing the conversation back to gentlemanly things, because we've talked about this offline that, it's a lost art, and sort of just weaving that part of the conversation into whatever the topic at hand will be, whether it's whiskey or cars or cigars, is really, I think, needed, and your clients and your community are telling you, yeah, we want this. We want to hear more about it. And we want to learn with you. And that leans heavily into one of your core values, right? Be learned.
Absolutely.
So that podcast is going to scratch that itch and make sure that it lives within that core value for you. So it's good.
I'm excited to learn, and I think part of the imposter syndrome is, well, do I know enough to host this?
Yeah.
And then I turn around and say, well, I know enough about what I do,
Yes.
right? I'm certainly an expert in my field, and I'm going to be learning with the listeners at the same time. So it's my curiosity that makes me feel comfortable and ready to drive this, because I've got a lot of questions. And if we go all the way back to the beginning about custom suits and this whole idea and the concept of starting Henry A. Davidsen, I always say I was a why kid, and I blame it on asking the question, well, why would this be what somebody would pay? Why is it different? Why? And all those questions with my initial suit, and the tailor I worked with started to give me ideas about what we've shaped and formed here today.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just take that to the next level. I'm going to take it outside of suits and get into some areas I know a bit about, and then get into areas I just want to know more about. And I don't know enough, and I feel like now's the time to do it.
Yeah. So to bring this home and to hear more about what you're doing here and what the future holds, which is my last question. What is in the future for Henry A. Davidsen? What's the part of the plan?
Sure. Yeah. So I mentioned we started on EOS, which anybody that knows any parts of EOS or doesn't is a 10-year plan, 10-year vision, a 3-year plan, a 1-year plan, and then 90-day rocks. So we are just coming to the end of our 1-year plan, and we're 2 years into our initial 3-year plan. Those will adjust and get reset every year, but the 10-year plan really stays the same. And the 10-year plan is to bring our own production essentially in-house. So we are currently only in Philadelphia, but we have desire to be in other cities. We're looking for partners in those cities that can take our foundation and grow. So maybe somebody who is in the industry working for somebody else, has no ownership, but wants to control their own thing. So maybe they're thinking about leaving, they just don't know how to do it. Would be a great person for me to talk to. Somebody that's already doing it and struggling, right, on their own, that is into clothing. They thought, I can start a business, but they don't realize all the business elements that go into it. And they have a desire to be part of something a little bit larger. So first, we're going to grow the distribution channel by opening locations in other cities with local partners. And that will get our volume up enough that we could actually fulfill a tailoring shop. And the idea is to build a tailor shop here in the United States, that we could have the control over the quality of our product, the experience through our supplier, which right now we work with very close partnerships in our suppliers, but we don't 100% control them. So we want to have that control. We want to make sure that we have that control from start to finish so that it further enhances the experience for our clients. And I think there's an opportunity for it. So, that's a long-term future for us. And that's a
10-year plan.
That's a 10-year plan. We're chunking it down into small little bits. And we hope by the end of next year, we have our first strides into another city. I talk about failures in the past, that we opened a partnership like this in New York City right at the end of 2019. So just really tough timing. It struggled and kind of fledged for about 3 years. 2.5 years, 3 years. And we ended up closing that side of the entity and said, well, let's take everything we learned from that attempt, fix it all, and then we'll try it again. And so we've been spending the last two or so years really fixing it, documenting processes, working on training, really defining what the roles are. And so it's not just somebody who, yeah, I can do this, comes in, but we'll have good, clear core values for them and a roadmap and a direction that's part of our proven process.
Okay. Yeah, that's all exciting, man. I'm really, really looking forward to, seeing you grow and continuing to grow. How can people reach out to you? What's the best ways they can get in touch and work with you?
Yeah. So we're here. We're in Philadelphia. Our website has all the retail side of the information on it, henrydavidsen.com. And that's spelled with an E on it. Too many people hear Davidson,
That's fine, yeah.
but if they go to Henry A. Davidsen, it'll redirect here. I don't know who owns Henry Davidsen directly, but I can't get that URL, unfortunately. So yeah, henrydavidsen.com. You'll find our contact information there. You can always call us here at the store. It's 215-253-5905. My email, brian@henrydavidsen.com. Feel free to reach out, or info@henrydavidsen.com. But we certainly want to be having those conversations. I'm having a lot of those conversations through the Custom Tailors and Designers Association at this point. I'm actually going to become their president in about a year. And the neat thing about the CTDA is it's the oldest continually active trade association in our country.
Really?
Yeah. So it's been actively it's been an active association since somewhere in the 1860s, 1870s.
Wow.
So yeah, tailoring is the oldest trade, at least as a continually active association. So
very cool.
I'll take the helm of that next January and run that for 2 years and add my name to that historical scroll. But really trying to bring back that association from, it used to be very vibrant with a lot of tailors, and we talked about how tailors have disappeared. So it's become more suppliers, merchants, and shops like this. And we'd love to grow it a little bit more and back to its prominence that it once was. So I'm doing core values planning with them at this point in time. So core values, 1 year, 3 year, 5, 10-year goal setting.
Yeah.
It's that foundation works, whether it's a for-profit, nonprofit, it's an association. So setting that vision, setting the values and the culture is, I think, the key to so much.
Yeah. Love it, dude. Well, thanks for being on the show, man. I'm so excited for everything that you're doing and for what's to come. So thanks for being on the show, brother.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for coming down to the showroom.
Yeah.
And I love having you guys in here. It's getting to show our behind the scenes and show our process is really awesome. So
love it.
Thanks.
Cool, brother.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
If you were inspired or you learned something new today, please give us a like or a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. If you want to learn more about how to build your YouTube channel, your personal brand or podcast, hit us up at info@onairbrands.com. That's info@onairbrands.com so that we can find ways that we can help you. I'm Erik Cabral, and I hope that I added value in your life today.